following was written by Lillian King, near Waldeck, in 1961. She was my great-grandmother, Norma King's mother-in-law. Her grandfather, Frederick Waldeck, was one of the first missionaries in Greenough. I found this within Norma's research material.
Lillian King, near Waldeck, was born on the Greenough Flats on June 24, 1885, and married in 1907. My father, Joshua Waldeck, and my mother, Catherine Waldeck, near Pearson, lived on the Greenough most of their lives. My grandfather, Frederick Waldeck, was one of the first missionaries to settle on the Greenough. They lived on a farm there called Mount Pleasant, and brought up their family there. My grandmother on my mother's side was the first white woman to land at Champion Bay near Geraldton. My mother was a babe in arms at the time. Later they went to Greenough to live. My father and mother were married on the Greenough in the Methodist church before it was quite finished. The floor was not nailed down. They also lived on the Greenough and raised their family there. They had 13 children, but some of them died in early years. When I was quite young, my father went north and took up land 50 miles northeast of what is now known as Mount Margaret, a gold town which was found many years later. We travelled by covered wagon over the many miles. That used to take 3 weeks, sometimes longer than that. Our home was a mud-back place that father built. This was wild country, and plenty of wild natives, which made father's life very hard. Often we were robbed of our stores by the natives, and they often killed sheep and cattle. One of my brothers was killed by natives, speared through for no reason. Being children, we all enjoyed these trips to and from the station. We would pull into camp at night and make big fires. We would watch Dad make big dampers and cook them in the ashes. I remember once he forgot to pack his frying pan to cook on. To Mother's surprise, she got fried chops for breakfast. He washed and scrubbed the shovel and fried chops on that. When we reached home, often our home would be surrounded by natives in a war dance. However, after many ups and downs and rough living for Mother, being young, we knew no fears and had no worries. We lived on mostly tin food such as tin butter, no milk those days, brown sugar, and many other hard ways. At last, gold was found at Mount Magnet, and of course that brought people of all kinds, then railways. Then gold was found all around us, Painesville, Sandstone and other places. My brothers joined in the search with the rest. I have lots of happy memories of this life. Of course, during this time we were growing up and enjoyed the work and fun of shearing time and helping muster cattle and sheep. It was at Painesville that I met my late husband Harry King. He was from Queensland. He was 16 years old and I was 15. I was sent off to Carlyle. Harry worked on the state battery with his uncle, Mr. Squires. I went back to Greenough to school. Later Mother had to return to Greenough with the younger children for school. Time went on and Father put a manager on the station, and he went back to the Greenough to work the farm. His father had died and my dad bought the old home and farm. We all lived there till each one got married. Each girl of the family was married in the same church that Father and Mother were married in, and where Grandpa taught Sunday school and took the service. I was married on the 17th of July 1907, and went from there right up to Lake Darlot, a place where there were few women. One lived near me, and the small town was 5 miles away. It was a lonely life after coming from a big family, but we had to make our own fun. Mostly tennis on Sunday. Lake Darlot was a gold mining town. We lived there for 8 years. 4 of my children were born there, and they were years of hard battling and often short of food. It was when my 5th child was born I went back to Greenough for a short stay till Harry found a job which he did at Lawler's. Though we had many friends at Darlot, it was not hard to leave as there was nothing much left. We started off at Lawler's with Robber Baby. My sister saw me on the train one night at Geraldton. I had 3 boys and a girl. The eldest boy was 6 and the baby 3 weeks. Shall I ever forget that journey? My sister kindly told me I only had a few minutes to change trains at Mount Margaret to catch the one to Sandstone. Can anyone imagine me? It was night, all children asleep. First I woke the 2 eldest and took some luggage out and sat them on it, threatened them not to move or cry. A couple more trips into the carriage for more luggage, etc. Then another boy and then the girl whom I was sure would yell for small things, and the baby. I looked to find the tea room closed, and I was just exhausted, so I sat to wait for the coming of the Sandstone train. Can anyone just imagine my relief when someone touched me on the shoulder as I sat among my kids and luggage, and said, "Lady, have this cup of tea, you have earned it." I could have hugged the man. In fact, there were two of them. They had been watching me and were amazed to see what I brought from the carriage. Little did they know how scared I was, for fear they would all cry. Anyway, they had a fresh of tea made for me, and I can say, I got plenty willing help to get settled for the rest of my journey, which took all night. They brought cakes and eats for the children. That was a long hard trip, and my last from Greenough for many, many years. We settled at Lawlor's, and made many friends, and raised the rest of my family there, 11 in all. We had very happy times there, also a few sad ones. In the very wet season, we and all our friends often had the shortage of food, as the wagons, and later trucks, could not cross the running creeks and boggy roads. But we all shared alike and helped one another. It made up for the hard times when the weather was good. We lived at Lawlor's for 15 years, and happy years too. But alas, that place went down, and different ones left for want of work. Now the place is worse than a ghost town, nothing for a ghost to live in. So at the advice of Mr. Troy, we took up land at Mulleran. Another quiet place with few people. Our land was nothing but timber that Harry and the boys had to clear before we could grow wheat. We went to Mulleran in 1929. Went through the depression and poor crops and low prices, but still battled on. Plenty of ups and downs, our family growing up all the time. The two older boys struck out for themselves. After a few years, Harry's health began to break up to my mind due to hard work. We made many friends there. The boys followed cricket and football. In 1936, Harry took ill and I brought him to Perth and to hospital, where he spent the last 3 to 4 months of his life. He died on the 12th October 1936. The two youngest of the family were very young. I was left with the family and nothing but a poor crop and no cash. It was hard and sad, but God's will. At first, I didn't know where to start, or if to start, but I had to think of the children who were unable to do for themselves. That was 25 years ago, a long time ago, and much water has since passed under the bridge.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe. To keep in touch, please like and follow Goldfield Stories Facebook page, or subscribe to the website blog at goldfieldstories.com. Thank you.